All right, I guess we're back here. I have no idea to really know, but I'm just going to assume that you can hear me right now. So I am excited to be joined by two leaders in our profession and also two leaders in their practices, Dr. Nicole Wax and Dr. Cole Johnson. We're going to spend the next 20 minutes together discussing just that, leadership. And so we alluded to this in our little opening segment there, but obviously being a big leader, or good leader I should say, is a big leader, you know, a leader of big people, I don't know, is a huge part of what it means to be the best orthodontist. So let's start with question one, which is, for me, if I was to distill down what does it mean to be an effective leader, a good leader, it has to do with casting a clear vision and then getting your organization to make that happen. Okay, so to come together behind that vision and get it done. So how do you decide what your vision is going to be or what your goals are going to be?
Yeah, well,
good question.
I love this topic. It's one of my favorites. And to your question of like, how do you define what your vision is? I mean, it's what's inside you. I mean, you get to pick. It's what you want. So I think you have to sit down and, I mean, this is not on a patient day. This is time by yourself. What do you want? And sometimes that's one of the hardest questions.
Yeah, figure it out for yourself first.
Absolutely. And write it down. What do you want and when do you want it by? Okay. You know, it's production or profitability of your practice. That's an important piece of this. It's culture. What kind of culture do you want? Do you want to work with people that are funny? Do you want a funny office? Do you want a cool office? I work with a lot of cool people. You know, do you want hardworking, you know, individuals that make up your team?
Nicole, are you talking about like are these goals for yourself or for your team or both? Is being a leader like being just an example, or is it like setting goals for other people too?
It's setting the vision for the practice, which ultimately is going to break down into sub goals for the people and yourself. So that's practice side. Then there's you know, the work-life balance. What kind of life do you want in the practice and in your home, right? Do you want to work 3-4 days a week? Do you want to work 2-3 days a week? That is your goal. That is your vision. Yeah. And then you have to share that with your team and tell them about it so that you can get there.
Sure. Cole, how do you cast a vision? Do you do it like annually, daily?
Well, you know, just hearing her, I mean, I have a long way to go. Like everyone, leadership entails so many different facets. Like I'm a good leader in some regards, and I'll admit, I feel like I am. But in some, I'm just not good, and sometimes I can see that I'm not as clear-cut as Nicole. Like, that's just motivation for me to I do need to be clear. I really do need to write some stuff down. But what a leader is so once you got that, you know, Nicole made us a good list of what we need to do to come prepared to be a leader. It's like, okay, now how do we get the team on board? Yeah. And so, you know, that's the next part is you get your vision right, and then how do you get the team on board? How do you motivate them? So here we are trying to discuss this thing.
Right. So I think for me, like getting a vision often comes through being inspired by other people. So like events like this, or it's oftentimes just like at meetings, like after the meeting, like talking through things, and certainly like in the Facebook groups and stuff like that. For sure. I feel like having a regular set of meetings, like both, you know, daily, you know, like the small meetings that you do, but also monthly, quarterly, annually. It's usually at the annual meetings that you actually then say, all right, we got to come up with a day's worth of stuff to talk about. What are we going to do? Or like an event like COVID, like that really caused us to reevaluate a lot of stuff and do things differently. You mentioned, by the way, Nicole, if you ever need talking points for an interview segment, she's got you.
Like, write it down. That's
oh my gosh!
I know.
Like, incredible.
I know.
Like, oh, Nicole.
I gave Kyle like 3 bullets, and I looked at Nicole's. Hey, dang, yeah.
Nicole was like, "We'll talk here."
I stole some of hers. I just copied and pasted.
Yeah, you should have. Yours were good. So you mentioned something called goal, do, true. You're also very good with like little catchphrases and acronyms. It's great. Goal, do, true. What do you mean by goal, do, true? What does it mean?
Well, we were speaking about insomnia earlier. Goal, do, true came when I was taking a nap. It was goal, do, true. Oh my gosh! Okay, let me get up and get my notepad. I gotta write it down. So first of all, you know, like we talked about, you have to know what you want. That's your goal or your vision. You have to know what you want. Otherwise, how are you ever going to get it?
Right.
Yeah.
The do part is, okay, I know what I want. I want to work, 2 days a week. I want 3 practices, whatever it might be. That's your vision. How do I get there? What do I need to do to get there? And when do I want it by? What is my timeline for this? Again, if you don't know what you want and when you want it by, how are you going to get it? So if you visualize it, you have a plan, you know your goal, you know what you need to do, then it will become true. You know, it's like visualization. You know, we've talked about this before, and the 6 steps to achieving your goals is something I came up with, okay? And I recommend using it for the do part. How do I do this? Sometimes that's the hardest part. Well, sometimes knowing what you want is the hardest part.
I mean, yeah, it's all hard.
It's all hard.
It's all hard. The vision's hard, the implementation's hard, like the motivation's hard. I mean, it's all
I
hard.
think it's your personality type, though, too. There's something called the Colby test. It tells how you approach work. And I'm a fact finder, researcher. I'm great at the vision part, the goal part, how it should be done. The implementation is not my strong suit. So some people are like quick starts. So like Anna, my wife, great yin and yang because she gets stuff done, right? But man, I'm great at the goal.
Yeah, I'm a do now, think later kind of person, which has it's fraught with problems also.
Sure.
But yeah.
Well, that's why you need a strong team,
Yeah.
and a strong team has strong leaders.
Right. Yeah, and a good mix of personality types where they have their strengths and they have their weaknesses and they come together and work. So six steps. What are the 6 steps?
All right, so 1, again, define your goal. Easy, done, right? Let's just say your production goal for the year, whatever it might be. 2, break that goal down. What is it? Yearly, monthly, daily, whatever.
Okay. Bite-sized pieces.
Yep. 3, strategize. This is the do part. What do I need to do? What is my strategy? What is my strategy in the front desk for this goal? What is my strategy in my TC department for this goal? What's my strategy in the marketing department for this goal and in the clinic department for this goal?
Yeah.
3, you've thought about that, you got a good plan, now you have to share it with the team. Like, they need to be on board. You want your team to be ambassadors for your vision and for your practice. So you need to share it with them and teach them the do part in the steps. The next step is assign leaders, okay? You want people hyper-focused on each goal and each strategy. You alone will not be able to focus enough on every aspect of your practice to know when you need a shift or whatever,
Very
or if
true.
it's going well or not. So you're going to have leaders assigned to different pieces of this.
Delegate. Got to learn how to delegate. Right?
Absolutely, that's big. And then lastly is repeat, repeat, repeat. You are going to be talking about this all the time, daily, until it becomes second nature and is part of the systems or just what happens in your practice.
Right. It's easy to grow tired or fear that your staff has grown tired of your mantra, but you're just saying you gotta stick with it.
Well, you got to be creative on how you repeat too.
Right.
You're not getting okay. Let me find a new way to
true.
say this.
It's
you
true.
know?
Yeah,
Yep.
sure. So I want to read them real quick because someone's taking notes out there. Define what your goals are. Break those goals down into mini goals. It's cute. I like that. Strategize how to achieve each mini goal. Share with your team. Assign leaders on your team to head certain goals. Repeat, repeat, repeat. I love it. Cole, as a leader, how do you approach big office changes?
I know we've talked about this before, and it might be an unpopular opinion, but this is really, I've found that when you approach your team, and what most people do, most orthodontists, they'll sit down and they're like, hey guys, staff meeting, I'm feeding you your Subway. All right, I want to try something. I heard that I want to increase our starts, or I want to fix our new patient process. And guys, what do you guys think? All the Debras raise their hand and they all have problems. Nobody will ever raise their hand and say, like, I think that's a good idea. Because what they're doing is like, the way we've been doing it is not good enough. So they immediately get a little defensive. So what I've done differently, and it's helped a lot, and I want you to try it. I just want you to try it just to see if it's something that works for you. And that I go in there and I sit down and they're eating their Subway. And I'm like, hey, we are going to try something. Now, I've spoken with a consultant. I've spoken with a few of my friends that are orthodontists. And I've come up with a plan. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to try this for a month. And then after the month is over, we're going to have a meeting again. I will feed you Subway again. And we're going to talk about what problems arose from that. And so what happens is if you come with a fully formed plan already, they know that it's not really open to discussion.
Right.
But you're not a dictator. You are open to things, but we're going to try it your way first. And you always back it up by saying like, hey, I didn't come up with this. Maybe you did. But I always talk with Kyle, or I'll call Nicole and say, just so I can be truthful when I say I've talked to another orthodontist about this, or I've talked to a consultant about it, even if it's just my friend. So they say, because if it comes from you, they're like, Dr. Johnson, we've heard your ideas before. They're lame. But if I say, oh, you guys, I've talked to another orthodontist, they're like, oh, okay, so this might be something exciting and new. So they're automatically on board, and more than that, psychologically, they know it's not open for debate. Like, we're going to do this, but guess what? In 4 weeks, or in 3 weeks, or in a week, I want you guys to answer the phone like this for a week. Just for a week. And then next week, we'll get Subway and you guys can tell me what problems with it. And that's how you get it going. Because if you try to just lay it out there like, hey, here's this half-formed puzzle. Can you guys help me put it together? Like, you should have started on the edges. It's hard for them to see what you already have envisioned. So I would do the thing that might be counterintuitive, which is start with it all fully formed and then make them try it and then pick it apart.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what? That made me think about, several conversations we've had in our practice over the years. And people, are just not naturally ready for change.
Mm-hmm.
Like anytime there's change, no matter what it is, there's going to be some reluctancy. So back in the beginning, I had the BHAG, big audacious goals, whatever. And my team's like, oh gosh, I don't think I can do that. I don't think we can do this. That's more than other practices are doing. Like we can't do that.
Yeah.
And my thing was always like, you guys are amazing. You can do this. We are not going to have that excuse because I know you can. If I know you can, we can do this.
Right.
Sure.
And at least we're going to try it. Like you just say, like, look, it might be a horrible idea. There's only one way to do it, Deborah, and we're going to try it. So all the Deborahs just put their hands down. They eat their foot long, and they're like, okay.
You go the full foot long.
Deborah does.
Deborah does. Okay, fair enough. I like to leave the lettuce and tomato off the Subway because otherwise it gets too moist. It gets soggy. So I have
that
to say,
word was going to happen eventually.
Yeah, it was. If on your drinking card, moist drink.
Oh, God.
I wanted to say, but the thing I like about and you've lectured on this, of course, and people have heard this, and I've utilized this method, which is the sign of a great kind of method or system is that it's usable, right? And that it's easy to remember. And the one thing I like about it is that you tell people, because you're being honest, like if this sucks, like we'll stop doing it.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of frees up the mind to like, okay.
And you set, like Nicole said, you set a time period. You say,
Right.
hey, we're going to do this for 3 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's like probably the strongest part of it. It's like, and to accept like, hey, I don't think I have everything figured out, but I do think this is going to work because I've talked to someone, it's working for them, so it has to be able to work for us.
Right. And bonuses work in the same way. And we know like, hey, we're going to do Google, you guys are going to get $10 per Google review for 1 week. You don't just say it indefinitely because then they're like, oh, I'll get to it next week. You have to do it like, hey, for this next month, what do we want our bonus to be? How about we do for every in-office, this last month we did like, hey, if you can get a sibling or a friend that came in the office, signed up, give you $20, $30, I can't remember what it was. But we just did it for 2 weeks and that was highly motivating. Like, because if you have bonuses hanging out there indefinitely, they become...
that's true.
How do you keep giving them more?
Well, like they accidentally feel entitled to them. Nothing wrong with them. It happens to all of us. Like your allowance when you were a kid, you felt entitled to it until you stole your mom's car for a weekend trip to the beach, and then she took the allowance away. You thought she owed it to you when it was something that you never earned in the first place. So bonuses have to be treated like, hey, you get this because of this, and then we're going to try something different.
Yeah, more on that beach tryst later. So we have 2 questions left. Is that right? Just 2 questions? I should have more questions for y'all. You mentioned something called let me know rules. Another thing that I love. Will you tell me what you mean by that? Let me know.
I mean, it's when you're employing millennials especially, God bless them, and I am part millennial, so I get this. Like, it's hard to be told
I'm full millennial.
It's hard to be told what to do, and we don't like hard and fast rules. Like, don't use your cell phone during clinic hours. Don't take bad impressions. Don't show up late. Because there's always legitimate reasons why those 3 things are not possible. So we don't have rules in our practice that are never or don't. It's let me know rules. Meaning, if you can't get a good impression, you have to let me know. It's not a rule that you take perfect impressions or scans. It's a rule that if you couldn't get the distal of the 7, you have to let me know. If you have to be late, everyone's going to be late. If you have to be late, you have to let me know. And I don't accept text, you got to voicemail me, okay? Like, people don't like to, hey, you can use your cell phone whenever you want, you just have to let me know. So when they say, cool, I need to use my cell phone, I'm like, hey, quick, finish this patient first and wipe off the counter in the lab, then take that call, then you go, okay. So the let me know rules, it's the same rule. It's like, don't limit your cell phone use, don't be late, and don't be lazy on your scans. But you're saying it in a way that they get like, hey, just let me know if you can't reach the ideal. Because what happens is it just makes them like, I don't want to go to him and tell him I can't get a scan. I'm just going to get the distal of the 7. Shoot, I don't want to call him and say that I'm going to be late. I'm just going to ask my neighbor to take my kid to daycare. Or, you see what I'm saying? Like, you get to the point where you know that they're following the rule, but you're doing it in a way,
Well, it creates accountability. It creates, effectively, your idea of how you enact change, it creates a limit.
Yeah.
And this kind of creates a limit or a boundary.
Yeah. And the nice part is they can never say, well, I couldn't follow the rule. You're always capable of letting me know. Brittany, Deborah, you are always capable of letting me know that you're going to be late. You're always capable. You can look at that scan and know that it wasn't great. Like, you don't have to get perfect scans. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to let me know when you're running behind. So we have a rule like, we don't have a rule that like you can't run behind. It's like, no, you let me, the doctor, know if you're running behind. You have to let me know in person. And guess what they do? They don't like to tell me that they're running behind, so they just run ahead. They run on schedule. So let me know rules.
Brilliant. That was great. I love that. Thank you for sharing.
It actually works too. So.
I'm sure it does. All right, guys, we're down to our last question, and I think there are a few topics that always come up at every orthodontic meeting. Someone's going to talk about Steve Jobs. It's going to happen. Someone's going to talk about the energy bus. Someone's going to start with why. We're starting with why, and I'm guilty of that, right? Yeah. Another one is Turn the Ship Around. How many times have you heard people talk about that book? And if you haven't, just nod your head like you have. It tells the story of how Captain David Marquette successfully transformed the USS Santa Fe in less than a year from the worst performing submarine in its fleet to the best. It presents a different approach to leadership using a leader-leader model instead of a leader-follower model. So leader-leader instead of leader-follower. So we'll end with this. How do you build new leaders on your team, Nicole, so that you can achieve your goals?
Well, I think developing leaders is the first step to delegating and positioning yourself in your practice to be as successful as possible. So, a lot of people have a hard time knowing what to delegate and how to delegate. So I think the very first step is, again, my famous line, sit down and think about it. And think about the things you like to do and you're good at doing. Write it down. Think about the things you don't like doing, or maybe you're not great at.
That you're bad at. Yeah.
Okay? If you don't like hiring and firing, put that on the things I don't like to do. If you don't like, doing payroll or whatever it might be, put it on the things you don't like to do. Those are the things you are going to delegate. But first, you have to develop leaders. So how do you all of a sudden develop leaders or have leaders on your team, front office manager, clinic manager, office manager, whatever it might be? You look for people who are already displaying leadership skills on your team. So things like coming in early, staying late, things like being positive even though we might be stressful, it might be a stressful situation at the time. People that come to you with solutions to the problems, not just the problems. People who you've noticed when they talk to the team listens, and actually you're seeing the change come about because of that.
And it's cultivating those natural leaders. Like you see them, you got to give them, like feed them. Like you can see that everyone's deferring to that to that person.
So that is a person you're going to want to start delegating to. Ooh, I see you have leadership skills. I'm going to start giving you some of these things I don't like, and because I think you're going to be good at it. So you start giving them those items, and then they will become the leaders on your team. The hardest thing is having somebody in that role that isn't good at it or meant for it, right? So I made that mistake. I promoted somebody.
Okay? Especially when it's you.
Well, yeah, put that on the list to give away, right? You can be the doctor. But if you have a leader and you're like, oh gosh, really, they're not doing it, they're not being successful in this role. And I should have known because they didn't give me any signs that they would have been good in that role. So I really set them up for, to fail.
And taking away delegation is like the hardest thing.
You're better off waiting until you find the right person.
Yeah, what an embarrassing moment, taking away delegation.
It happens.
I'm sorry, I'm going to do that for you.
So for me, along those same lines, like delegation to me is like, whenever you're teaching your kid to play baseball, you literally put the ball on the tee so they can knock it out of the park. Like you really start, and then you throw them a slow pitch over the plate. Like you really are trying to give them things that they're going to knock out of the park. Yeah. So a new girl, I'd say, hey, I want you to count all the retainers that we put in this week. I want you to count all of the emergency appointments that we did this week, and in our monthly meeting, I want you to report on how many pokey wires we had versus how many broken brackets. And Natalie comes in and she figures it out, and during the monthly meeting, hey, Natalie has a report for us, emergency report. And so she did it. She knocked it out of the park. It was an easy thing. But the next week, I asked her to count 2 things. But you got to be careful about piling too much on. I mean, my 2-year-old learned how to take out the garbage with his older brother. Pretty soon he will be, learning how to, sweep the floor. Like to train people who are. You just can't ask too much of them. You want to make sure they have a few successes before you give them something like big. Like if Natalie showed up and she botched the retainer report or the emergency appointment report, no big deal. give them something that it's okay if they whiff, okay?
Yeah.
But eventually, like, you want to be able to throw fast pitches over the plate and they can knock it out. And so, but it takes that practice.
Yeah.
Give them little things.
Natalie, let me know if you're going to botch the retainer report, okay?
Natalie does awesome on the retainer report.
I'm sure she does.
Every month.
Yeah. And she eats only a 6-inch sub, which is great, which I think she's really looking at for the team. And
Deborah eats half of her sandwich.
she lets someone else have the Harvest Cheddar Sun Chips if they want them, right? She'll take that salt and vinegar. All right, I'm done. So thank you to Dr. Cole and Nicole. You guys should practice together. Great job. Yeah, you're right. So next, Alex is going to be interviewing Dr. Courtney Berry and Dr. Chris Feldman. He's the one with the mullet. And they're going to be talking about Be Yourself, a discussion on branding and authenticity.
This should be
How
good.
modern a topic. Be yourself. But first we have a commercial break. It's going to be from our sponsor, 3M, our exclusive sponsor. Thank you, 3M. It's on digital apps. And I have to say that in the lead up to this meeting, I got a beta test for the 3M Clarity Smile app. And I think your patients are going to love it. It actually is pretty awesome. You can digitally add braces, aligners, even a gold grill, some vampire teeth, also jacked up teeth. And I did the gold grill. It was kind of awesome. And then you can post it to social media. Kids love that kind of thing. So it's very cool. It should be out soon. But anyway, we'll be back in just a little bit. Great job, guys.
Hi everyone, Paul Koshin here with Hensler & Koshin Orthodontics in St. Paul, Minnesota. And my favorite 3M offering would have to be the 3M Oral Care Portal. We are currently using it as a single platform on which we manage not only our aligner cases, but also our indirect bonding setups for our fixed appliances, and then also designing any combination therapy that we may choose. Having everything in one place, one location, one login has certainly made it easier for us as doctors to manage these tasks day to day. The staff has liked it because it's all going to one place. And we feel it's really kind of streamlined our digital workflow. So if you haven't, I would encourage you to take a look. What I like most about working with 3M is that they do seem to listen to the end user of their products and services and use that feedback to improve those products and services. They want feedback, they encourage feedback. It doesn't matter if you're talking to an engineer, a technician, or sales rep, they do seem to genuinely want that feedback and then put that to use in improving the things that we use day to day. I think working with 3M and 3M appliances can really help any practice grow. It's a trusted brand. There are very few products or appliances that our patients walking off the street would recognize the name of the manufacturer of. 3M is one of those. I mean, 3M's all around you at work and at home. And I think it makes families and patients feel good that they're being treated with an appliance or a product from a brand that they know and trust.
All right, I'm joined here by two doctors who do not fit the traditional mold of what it means to be an orthodontist. And I mean that in the best possible way. Dr. Feldman and Dr. Berry are 100% who they are, and I'm excited to discuss how commitment to being yourself has impacted your brand and your practice success. So let's get into it. How is authenticity to the vision of your practice and how you approach what you do each and every day important to your success?
So I think it's very important, and one of the ways that I try and stay authentic to myself is keep my blinders on, and try and avoid the curse of comparison, because then you're worried about what Dr. Johnson's doing up the street or Dr. Betty's doing in the state over, and you never feel like you're kind of keeping up with that. And so I always want to do the best that I can possibly do from the moment I wake up to the end of the day.
And you can follow that from the time she wakes up till the end of the day when she gets back home.
Literally.
Because she posted on her story all day. So you can keep along with Courtney's day. Chris, what about you? Tell us a little bit about we like to call it the mullet mentality. I think that may be a coin that Kyle coined, but tell us, it sums you up really well, right? I mean, because anyone who knows you knows you're an excellent businessman, clearly, right? So tell us about the party in the front, or business in the front, party in the back.
So I mean, Kyle did kind of coin it, and I was like, yeah, I'll roll with that. It does. I guess my haircut does kind of match with my personality, or at least how I view orthodontics. Listen, orthodontics is a passion, and I'm sure many of you can relate. Like, this is something I go to bed thinking about my clinical cases. I wake up thinking about my clinical cases.
Right.
I obsess over the metrics of my practice, both clinical and financial. So I mean, I'll roll with that. But at the same time, I have to always remind myself, like, do not take yourself too seriously. We're all human beings. We all make mistakes. We all do great things. For me, I feel like my purpose, I guess, is to bring some energy, bring some smiles, bring some laughter, and I want to be the highlight of people's day. So the business stuff is cool, but if you're not partying through life, then what's it all for?
Yeah, work hard, play hard. Yeah.
And I think that starts to create your culture, right? Because as we all know, as leaders of businesses, our culture is very representative of who we are. So Courtney talked about that a little bit. Talk about your culture and how that office culture is really based on your personality.
Yeah, so instead of calling it culture, I would say it's a vibe thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a vibe.
But what's that song? Yeah. But I think about how I want to feel when I go into work every day, how I want my employees to feel when they come into work every day, and how I want my patients to feel as they come in every day. And like you touched on, I want to be the best part of someone's day.
Absolutely.
And remind people of how blessed they really are, the fact that they were even able to, afford to come see the orthodontist or walk in with their own two legs and see the orthodontist. And, you do want to create this nice culture of like gratitude and service.
Yeah, and clearly you're doing a good job because you married one of your patients.
Most unethical thing I've ever done.
But clearly the best part of his day, though.
Yeah.
When he scored that day. Yeah. So Chris, tell me, how do you connect with your patients? Is it a beat of beer bombs in the back or?
No, not quite, not quite. I do think connection with your patients is of highest importance.
Yeah.
If your patients believe in what you're doing, then it's going to make a lot of things easy. And I always remember, I know Cole Johnson might not get enough attention, but I kind of wanted to shine some light on him. One day, I think it was MKS a long time ago, Cole got up there and he said, people like you as much as you like them. And that's something like, okay, yeah, we all subconsciously know that, but when you really take the time to internalize that and think about it, it's true. So, after that, I made a commitment like, okay, I'm going to make sure every single patient that comes in here, I'm going to make sure they know I am so happy to see them. And I hope that they're happy to see me too.
Yeah.
I think another thought that goes along with culture is confidence. In the past few years, as I've been getting more experience in orthodontics and truly becoming more confident in my cases, it kind of came natural. I think Neil Kravitz kind of mentioned it before also. At the end of every consult, I'm making sure to tell the patient, my last words are, look, all these goals we talked about, like, we can do this. We can get you that smile that you wanted, and we can straighten those teeth. We can close that gap. I can't wait to see the results. Like, we're going to do this together as a team. You're going to do your part, and I'm going to do my part.
And you're confident in them, instilling confidence in them.
Absolutely. When patients pick up on that, and I think there's lots of reasons why our conversion percentage has gone up as we mature as a practice. I think, but my confidence, our great treatment coordinators' confidence, the rest of our team's confidence, that all plays a role in how confident the patients are. Mm-hmm.
And how important do you think that connection to the community that you're creating through your patient base becomes to your practice success?
Oh, I mean, It's huge. I know, Courtney and I are in kind of two different situations. I'm a small town boy.
Yeah.
But, whenever you get yourself out there in the community, like people realize, people see it.
Right.
So like when I started from scratch, I made a commitment. Every patient that asked for a sponsorship, every community event, like you're going to see us there.
Yeah.
And now we actually, a few years ago, we bought a big cooking rig. It's a trailer that we use to go, in the South, we're big on food. We're big foodies, not in the best shape, but we do it right.
Clearly.
And, so we got this cooking rig. So any cook-off that comes, anytime we can have a chance to cook for a big group of people, we bring it out there. It's a huge advertisement, but it's also fun, and we get to see a lot of patients along the way, and it's a great time.
That's amazing. Yeah, and Courtney, you're in Manhattan. You're in the middle of the city.
Yep.
And to create something, a culture that vibes and resonates with your community is not easy to do.
Yeah, and so I have to actually think outside of the box, like don't think like a traditional dental office or orthodontic office, but think of one of my other favorite businesses, Equinox Gym memberships or SoulCycle. SoulCycle has a candle scent, so we have a signature scent in my office. And, I try and think like a business that I like. And so I'm going to transition to this because I love this, because this is our latest and greatest. But
show me what you got.
So I buy lip gloss from a brand called Glossier. If you're a girl, you know what it is. But they have a great little bag that comes with all their makeup, and all my new patient starts get these cute little swag bags. And because I'm a Christian girl from the Midwest, I hit a Bible verse on the back, and I love it. So
what is the Bible verse?
It is, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, Philippians 4:13.
That's
awesome.
Can I get one for my wife?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. And again, that's all about the confidence thing, right? We're instilling that. Mm-hmm. And when you think about your communities, your community's been hit so hard by COVID-19. Mm-hmm. So many people moved out of New York. How did you keep that vibe going? How did you keep that mentality?
We had to, again, be the best part of someone's day. Like we had to have a positive attitude and really kind of, again, make people feel good about coming in, and also make them feel safe during COVID. But you wanted to create an environment where people felt like it was like coming home.
Right. Yeah.
So.
And your authenticity, I think, it shines through for both of you. But talk to me just a little bit, Courtney, about when you decide, hey, I'm going to go live. Is there scripting, planning, or are you just like, boom, I'm doing this, and it's that real and raw?
Oh yeah, it's that real and raw. Boom, I'm doing this. Is there anyone naked behind me? Cool.
Oops, I'll edit that later.
Yeah, and I think I was telling Chris earlier, but I'm comfortable when I'm filming myself on my Instagram. All this, it's still a little new.
I know, right? It's a little bit different when the lights are on and the
if there's a camera on me, I'm kind of sometimes if it's a video, I'm uncomfortable. Like when you just put me on your video, I was like, I'm close. I don't know what to do.
Well, if you would have put makeup on earlier, you would, nobody could even tell you were sweating.
No, I pass on that. No
Chris is the only person that didn't put makeup. I didn't put makeup on either.
You ain't gonna do much for that.
So, Courtney, you've got these really cool swag bags. Let's talk about some of the other ways you brand yourself. You've got the cooking truck. Let's talk about branding. How do you do that and keep it true to who you are?
So I'll say one of the first things I did was I called my office Smile Pop. It sounds very catchy, like a Korean pop band, but if I wanted to expand into other areas of orthodontics or other offices or other avenues in dentistry, Smile Pop was a good starting point. So, we also have a whitening line in my office. We even sell these products, and people who aren't even my patients buy them online. So it's, awesome. You have to think expansion,
Right.
And so again, look at other brands that are non-orthodontic, non-dental brands and see what they're doing and what are they doing that you like, and kind of mimic that and recreate it for yourself.
I totally agree. I think every great branding project starts with you looking at the brands that you love, that are authentic to you, that resonate. Like for me, it's Apple is one of the things that I just love. You open like a new Apple product and you just get this feeling. It's like sexy and it's great. And it may not even have the best interfaces, maybe Android, but that's not what draws you to it.
Yeah,
right?
And you think of these offices that give out pencils, which is fine, but my patient base are adults, and they want fancy gold pens or something, right? But
right. Yeah.
So you got to think outside the box.
Yeah.
I can tell you for us, it's simple. Like one of our biggest marketing things is we give T-shirts to everybody and their mama. Like literally, like the patient and your mama gets one, and your brothers and your sister. If you start treatment, or if you go on recall, you are getting a T-shirt. And so over the year, we have a small town, and over the year I tallied it up the other day. We've printed like 7,000 T-shirts.
7,000.
And our T-shirts are simple. It's our logo. That's it. It's our logo on the front and our quote on the back. Life is great, basic, make it better. And that's it. And so you see these. over the years, like I could see them all over town, and people are like, oh yeah, I see people with your shirt on all the time, and that's people with a story to tell. That's walking, talking advertisements at $7 a pop. That's like some good ROI.
Yeah.
And your t-shirt guy
You need a
loves
picture of your mullet though on the back of the t-shirt, like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, we could definitely step up that t-shirt game.
We can start expanding our
Yeah, definitely. We got some cool ones to show you. Courtney, what about you? What are some of the other? You mentioned
one
a
thing
lot
that
of
we
it.
have like coming up next week, and I'm so excited about it, is we shut down for COVID for a little bit. We had an office flood. We've been under construction again, and so we're having like a Phoenix Rising thing. We hired a designer to basically put florals all on the outside of our storefront. So in New York City, it's gonna pop and people are gonna see it from like blocks away because it's gonna be massive and huge.
That's
I haven't
awesome.
asked the landlord yet, but I'm doing it anyway.
What's the old saying? Do and ask forgiveness
Yes,
later.
exactly, yeah.
Yep, absolutely. I love that. Chris, what do you do and ask forgiveness later for? Speaking of authenticity.
different conference.
Oh, that's a different. Okay. We'll save that one for Vegas. So let's talk about our teams, because I mean we know we're only so much, right? The minute that we walk into the back office or we walk away from a patient, we're depending on our teams. Or many times you guys aren't even the first contact a patient sees when they're walking through the door. You're depending on that front desk person to be having a great day and make sure they're having a great day. So how do you control your culture through your team and make sure they get it?
I tell the girls sometimes, listen, we all have bad days. You got to leave it at the door. Sometimes you just got to fake it till you make it. And eventually, if you fake smile enough, you're going to be happy. But
Yeah, I mean, I talked about it in the last segment a little bit, and I know I could sound like a broken record. I could talk about this for hours, but it just makes me remember how when we first started, it was all about my vision, and like people were there to see me, and that was cool. Made me feel good, boost my ego and things like that.
Right.
But as the years pass by, I see more and more people recommending us, saying like their team is awesome, and like that makes me so proud. So.
And one other thing I'll say is you want to create an environment that like makes it easy for your team, in the sense that like if you're running around and things are chaotic, your team's going to feel stressed, the patient's going to pick up on that, and it's just not a good vibe for the office, So I think the more systems you can create and the better, systems.
Talk about
you
some
have.
of the systems. Like, give me maybe an example of one that you've implemented that's made your team stronger.
Oh, I mean, when we are on, it is like it's like synchronized swimming. So we start the day doing a morning huddle, and we actually talk about what the patient's coming in. Was there a certain birthday? Did they have an issue with the last time? Should we, they're pregnant, they're going to be having a baby. Should we like get them make them a nice little goodie bag or something? And just kind of like, again, go above and beyond.
You hit the nail on the head. I mean, you want people to have your back, you got to have their back. When they do well, like. You have a great month, bonus them. Give them a big bonus. You're doing well. Make sure they know.
One of the
absolutely, and it's not just financial.
Awesome.
I mean, take the time to just send a text. Tell, hey, I'm very proud of you. You're doing awesome. That means a lot. Buy some lunch. Get them $100 gift certificate to a clothing store or something like that. Like we're so blessed to be in a profession we're in, and we can do a lot of great things, but we can't do it without the right people with us.
Man, I love telling my team I'm proud of them. It's like my favorite thing to do.
I have a lean team, and sometimes we do staff meetings while getting foot massages. It's great.
Right.
So it's kind of like a win-win.
No better way to just say you're proud of them, but show them appreciation too, because they know, right? You're at the top.
Yeah.
Got to be about.
I want to say
every
one
day.
more thing. Sorry, I know this is
plenty of
short.
time.
Okay. So one of the best pieces of advice that I ever got from, two pieces of advice from Dr. Sarver. One is follow your beam and like avoid the noise and just like stay true to yourself. But the other thing that he does is after every patient start, he calls the patient personally to check in on them. And I cannot tell you how much patients appreciate an actual call from the doctor themselves just to check in on them and see how they're doing.
Oh, I remember when my wife Sarah got Invisalign, we almost got divorced in that first 18 hours.
Yeah.
So like,
call after like
not
48
easy,
hours
right?
after the soreness goes away, but then
That's awesome. And honestly, like I did that for a while, and I kind of got away from it. As we started growing and starting more patients, like there's just not enough time to be a good clinician and a good family man and a good orthodox.
When coronavirus happened, you called every single one of your patients, every single one, right?
Yeah, I did. I just wanted to make sure they knew I was there for them.
I mean, think about that though. When you think about being authentic and you've had something like that happen and you're sitting in your business, nobody's coming in the door, the government shuts you down, and you don't know how you're going to be able to feed your family, your employees, all these things are running through your head, and you're picking up the phone, calling all your patients, just checking in on them. I see you're getting emotional about it, but I think that's important for people to see this authenticity and for you to be who you are. And you wrap your arms around people in your community, and I mean, there's nothing to be ashamed of about that. I think I'm proud of you for what you do for the community and for your patients. We love it. What about you? I mean,
I'm not going to start talking right now. That'd be a mistake.
We'll jump over to Courtney real quick. And as we wrapped it up here a little bit, I mean, you were in a very similar situation because New York was hit so hard. So, I mean, there were a lot of people impacted. What were some of the ways you were just able to wrap your arms around that community at that time?
Yeah, so the first thing I did was I actually ordered a bulk order of popcorn and bubble mailers and scratch-off lotto tickets, and I sent care packages to all my patients.
Scratch-off lotto tickets?
Yeah, only in the favorite patients, you know.
Ooh,
but I
I'm going
basically, I made a quarantine and chill package, and I printed some labels that we made and said this virus is ducked up, and I put the popcorn in and the lotto tickets, and it was kind of funny because I was making a joke, like with no money coming in at that time, a lot of money was going out on these care packages, you know, but like patients got it, they posted about it, they loved that I thought about them, and I love doing that because, again, I just wanted people to know that they weren't alone during that period.
Right.
You know.
And I mean, for us, I remember Dr. Kyle and I, you know, it was like we didn't know what was going to happen, and we had a big team meeting. It was like the March 18th, or, you know, we brought everybody on. We were like, we don't know what's going to happen, but we know this. We're going to go hard. We're going to go all in on our clients and the people who are taking care of us, and in turn, it's all going to come back to us. And that's exactly what happened. You know, no client cancel. And some of them, hey, we can't pay for a month or two. That's okay. Whatever it takes to get you through this, that's what we're here for.
And look, I think, you know, I talked to a lot of orthodontists, and, you know, it seems like it bounced back hard for a lot of people.
Yes.
And, you know, the rest of 2020 bounced back, and 2021 is off to a good start for a lot of orthodontists. Like, what we do is important to people. That will not change.
That's right.
We are going to be okay. And, you know, I that instilled a lot of confidence in me and our team. Like, you know, what we've been through, like, you know, knock on wood, hopefully we don't go through anything worse, but like, we know we got this.
Yeah.
Say nothing, bring it.
Yeah, and across the industry, we keep hearing this, that Q1 has been huge for orthodontic offices. If your Q1 hasn't been huge, call us. We can help you. Thank you so much to Dr. Courtney and Chris. We really, really enjoyed our time together here. Up next, Dr. Kyle's going to be discussing the topic of be the best associate, become the best partner with Dr. Candace Coleman and Dr. Jeff Kozlowski. Before we go to that tonight, we're featuring 10 of the best consultants in orthodontics with 1-minute pro tips on a variety of orthodontic topics. It's a great way for you to go home with even more pearls out of this weekend. In this pro tip segment, that's a mouthful, pro tip segment, you'll hear from Dino Watt and Angie Menendez. Enjoy it.
Hey everyone, I hope you have an amazing weekend. Dino Watt here with DinoWatt.com. I'm a business and culture consultant. Have you ever had a situation where you hired a consultant and the end result wasn't really what you were hoping for? Or maybe you went to a seminar and you said, yes, I'm going to implement that into my office, and the results were kind of lackluster. Well, I'm here to tell you that 99% of the time, that is not due to the consultant or the system that you wanted to implement. It has to do with your team and your culture. You see, every business is like a petri dish. And inside that petri dish, we have multiple cultures going on. And every once in a while, we allow a staph infection to get inside there. Maybe it's because we didn't take enough time to hire someone, or we allowed some insubordination to go on a little too long. Whatever it is, we have a staph infection. And so no matter what you put inside of that petri dish, no matter how good that system is, you are going to end up with a contaminated result every single time. So what do you have to do? You have to clean up that culture inside of your office. Everything starts with culture. And if you clean that up, then no matter what you put into it, you will get a good result every single time.
Hello, my name is Angie Menendez, and I am an owner consultant for Embrace Your Practice Consulting Services. My pro tip for the day is for the entire team and why it's important to have regular roundtables for training. Consistent training is imperative in any practice, even for existing team members. Just like your computer software, they get regular updates throughout the year, and your teams should too. We have noticed in some of the offices that we've gone to that not all team members are on the same page. And that is the reason why you should have regular roundtables. Roundtables are a great opportunity to review your systems and protocols in your office and make sure that everyone is on the same page. Your practice should run like a well-oiled machine. There is always room for growth and improvement. Let's make our teams the best that it can be, and that is my pro tip for the day. And remember, embrace smiles.